Jen is about to have an orgasm just watching Rob pour this bucket of water right now. Like, Rob could tell Jen, I'm filing my taxes. She'd be like, oh, yeah, babe. Like, your other man's right there. Calm down, girl. Save this for the bedroom.
I mean, I think naturally, like, I'm not going for women with kids.
Like, he's totally entitled to have expectations, but, like, be realistic. You're in your mid-30s, close to your 40s, so, like, be realistic.
You're married.
I am not tied to her.
Completely shocked that Rob is assumed married to his partner.
I think men that work in IT, they're probably exposed to a lot of weird Usman only wanting sex once a week because he's used to being with women in their 60s.
I don't want to see Jen with anybody. Like, I'm trying to block her out, but Chantel's sexy, so I want to watch her. But I ain't gonna lie, like, that's a hell of a show.
But you didn't need to watch
Yes.
us kissing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank God. And I hope that doesn't happen.
One of my favorite things on reality TV is when people blatantly lie unprovoked, as if they weren't caught in 4K and the footage isn't going to be played eventually. Let's get into the juicy mess. Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We are here to discuss 90 Day Fiancé Hunt for Love. We're gonna jump straight into it. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any of my updates. Okay, you guys, so we're picking up right where we left off with the day after shenanigans. We saw Courtney trying to get as much tea out of Jennifer as possible, except Jennifer is lying here, telling her that her and Rob just cuddled. So she instead decides to change up the subject and is like, what made you be so messy with Tim? Not that I didn't love it, because I did. And Courtney admits that she was fueled by the alcohol, which I don't really believe. But then again, she is always drunk, so maybe this is just her default. And before we know it, Cole finds his way into this conversation. Every time we see Cole, he is inserting himself someplace that he doesn't need to be. But given the fact that things were really rocky with Jennifer the night before, I'm not surprised that he made an appearance. He's like, hey, can I be here? Courtney is like, you know what? Let me see my way out. And he's like, should we talk about last night? To which Jennifer is like, yes, let's. And he's like, yeah, well, last night you pushed me aside to flirt with Rob in front of me, and it looked like you guys were about to kiss. And yes, that happened, but it's so interesting that he's not grasping that him shushing her, him basically taking over a situation that she didn't need saving from, that set her in motion. He got in his own way and practically pushed Jennifer into Rob's arms. And he keeps harping on the fact that, like, they almost kissed in front of him. Did they kiss when he wasn't around? What else happened? And Jennifer lies through her teeth. Yeah, we kissed, but that was it. We were just getting to know each other. You guys got to know each other real well. So obviously, there's a lot to be said about what happened between Rob, and she's not trying to tell Cole that, so she switches the topic to, like, it was your behavior. I didn't like your energy. I didn't like how you made me feel. You shushed me. And he apologizes, but he's like, don't take my compassion for ignorance. And he tells us that he eventually does want to get to the bottom of what happened with Rob. And after he apologizes, she's like, he's so mature. I'm going to see things through with him and see where it goes. But when Cole was like, yeah, you know, I want to get to the bottom of it, I'm just like, be careful what you wish for, because the footage is raunchy. So now the next segment is a group exercise where they're trying to determine compatibility. Honestly, the entire time our eyes are glued to Courtney, Usman, and Cole. Because as you guys recall, Cole and Usman had a heated conversation about who's the better man for Courtney. Usman thinks he has the upper hand because of their experience in Turkey. Cole is just like, I'm not going to let this guy tell me that he's better than me. I have a connection with her. So it's tense. And for some reason, these two losers are sat next to each other. And I simply want better for Courtney, and I hate that these are her options, but I am enjoying her commentary throughout. One of the first questions that they're asked is how often they would like sex. And Colt says hourly, which I don't see how he would have stamina or the equipment to do it. If you know, you know. And then Usman says weekly. And so Courtney's like, yeah, IT guys are freaky. I'm not surprised about Colt, but I'm also not surprised about Usman because he dates 60-year-olds. And I was like, but if she had to choose, she would pick Usman because she's like, I don't want a feral guy humping my leg. And I get that. But then it gets interesting when they get asked which one they value most in a relationship, whether it's money or love. She selects money, Usman selects money, Colt selects love. Courtney's reasoning for money is like she feels like she can love anyone, but money is hard to come by and you just want to make sure that you're taken care of. And I always struggle between like what's more important. Ideally for me, I would like to be in a stable relationship where there is love, where there's a lot of love. In a perfect world, I'd love to say love, but that's just not the world that we live in. I think that I want love more than anything, but a close second for me is stability. And when I say that, I don't mean like money in excess. I don't need like the most luxurious thing. I don't need us to be overflowing in money, but I do want comfort. I'm doing okay as a single girl. And if I'm going to be in partnership with someone, I would like to be with someone that is going to elevate me. You know what I mean? But when I say that, it's not because I don't value love. But Colt is eyeing the fact that Usman and Courtney are aligned in that, and they seem to be aligned in a lot. And he's like, well, love is important because money can go away. And Courtney's like, and love can go away. And I'd rather basically cry in a Porsche. She didn't say that, but that's the energy. And it was just so interesting how hard Colt was going. It just felt like this ongoing pissing contest. At the end of the day, I don't think either of them really care for Courtney. But the next segment is Tiffany, and she's going on a date with Marco. This is their second date. They hit it off at one of the activities. Then we saw them go to a bar. So this is their second date, and they're at this like mud activity. If they're gonna put Mayan clay all over each other, I think that it's an activity where they can get much closer, get a little more physically acquainted. However, Tiffany is feeling self-conscious because she lost a lot of weight. You know, she feels really vulnerable being in a bathing suit and having this guy touch her. However, he's looking at her like, she looks so hot, I'm so excited. So when I first saw this, I'm like, if Tiffany gets out of her head, I think that this could be a good thing. And she does start getting comfortable and they start, you know, having fun. And I think that they're both a little excited, if you know what I mean. And thus far, I feel like their conversations have been pretty surface level. So finally, they go to the side. They get to have a deeper talk. And this is the perfect opportunity for her to be like, what are you looking for? What does a relationship look like for you? And so far they're vibing, and he asks her like what she's looking for. She's like, I want a best friend. I want someone, you know, that I can create a life with. But just so you know, I am a divorcee and I have 2 kids. The way that this man froze, and she clocked it, and she was like, how do you feel about that? And he's like, are you open for feedback? And immediately I was like, that's an interesting thing to say when someone tells you they have kids. Because what kind of feedback could you possibly offer? Like, it's already done. You know what I mean? But he's like, you know, I've never dated people with kids, and that's not ideal. And for me, that would have been enough to be like, thank you, I hope you have a good day. But instead, she's like, are you open to continuing to explore? Like, and he's like, yeah, I guess. Like, you know, it's been good. And I'm like, Tiffany, it's time to clock out. Like, this date is over. I'm not saying that he has to jump with joy at the fact that she has kids, but I think that that was such an interesting reaction. And I think Tiffany made a great point. This man is in his 30s, almost 40. I think that it would be naive to think that people haven't lived lives. I think more often than not, people are going to have kids. You're allowed to not want to be a bonus parent to anyone. That's perfectly fine. I just think that if you're going to put yourself in an experience with people of different ages closer to yours, I would expect a few moms. I know that it's rare on these shows, but it's a reality in the real world. So you could tell that she was disappointed, and she did her best to just, you know, keep things cool and not, you know, express that too much. But she's like, I'm not making this guy a priority. I got my eyes on Mustache Dude. So next up we have Rob and Jennifer. They're meeting up for the first time after their steamy evening, okay? And Rob is like, I'm really feeling her, and I hope that she's feeling me too. And she starts, rehashing her morning. And she's like, yeah, I spoke to Cole and he apologized. And Rob is trying not to react. He's like, oh, and how was that? What did he say? And she's like, yeah, he apologized. And I'm just, keeping things open. She's like, I want to take my time. After all, I'm still figuring people out. I did think you were a fuckboy the first 2 days that I met you. And he's like, yeah, I'm a little reserved because of my bad relationships. And she's like, were you married? And he's like, and for a moment, you guys, I thought that he was gonna lie. Because he wants Jennifer so bad. But I was very proud when he was like, no, I'm still married. We're done. I am working on the divorce, but I am technically on paper still married. And you could see that her hoo-ha dried up in that moment. She was like, oh, you're married? And he's like, but we're done. And she's like, interesting. I didn't know that about you. So he's worried that his chances are just done. And all of a sudden, in her brain, you could see that Cole is all of a sudden a shiny option. He's automatically moved to number one, even though he showed sus behaviors. She's like, Cole may be crazy, but he's not attached to anyone else, and he's obsessed with me. So, yeah. So we'll see how that unfolds. I'm sure we haven't seen the last of it. The next up, we see a group activity. And y'all, when we have group activities, that's when we get a good look at all of these other singles that are on here. And I wish that we knew more about them. I really do. I feel like they're so attractive. They look so fun. There's a lot more of them than there are 90 Day cast members, so why don't we see more of them? But in this group activity, they get teamed up. Tiffany is teamed up with Mustache. I love that. Elise and Tim get teamed up. I think Usman and Courtney get teamed up. Cole is furious at that. They keep panning to his face. But the first activity is popping the balloon without using your hands. And Elise, who has been very, out there the entire season, decides that she wants to pop balloons with her bum and she wants to press it against Tim. Tim at first is like awkward about it, but then he's like, wait, I kind of dig her vibe. She's hot. And all of a sudden we see him in real time develop a crush. So that was interesting seeing him in that light. And then the next activity is passing around a card with your lips. I've seen this game before. Bad Bunny has it in one of his music videos that I love, but I've never played it. And the thing about it is that if you drop the card, you kiss the person. They didn't say that on the show, but that is how the game goes. And at one point, Tim has to pass it to Cole, and you could see him like looking up as he's passing it, because he's like, y'all are not about to get me, looking at Cole romantically. So he's like looking up as he's passing it. Courtney and Usman are doing it, and Usman, y'all, he is purposely dropping that card. And Courtney is not kissing him. They had a few almost kisses. No one can tell me otherwise. He was doing that on purpose, okay? And then the next activity that they have them doing is basically, I don't even know how to explain this. They were in a row. They had to pass water from bucket to bucket. Whichever team has the most water at the end of the final bucket, that's the winner. It is super competitive. You can't really see how you're doing it. At this point, I think Rob, Jennifer, Chantel, they're in the same, and Cole are in the same team, and they've been winning thus far. Elise, Tim, and Cole win this bucket challenge because Elise has perfect aim. And so because Elise's team won that, now they are tied with Jennifer, Chantel, Rob's team, which is funny that all of the exes are in opposing teams. So they're tied. So the way to break the tie is to have a kissing contest. So each team needs to choose 2 team members to make out, and everyone else has to decide who had the best kiss. So Jennifer immediately taps Chantel because remember, she made nice with Cole, and she doesn't want Rob thinking that they're gonna kiss in front of Cole. Hello? She has to keep her boyfriend separate. She's already rocked the boat. But it's funny because Colty is in their team, and he's like, oh, I got this. And Chantel and Jennifer are like, no, and they end up walking off. You could tell that Rob was a little butthurt because he wanted to make out with Jennifer to rub it in Cole's face, but Jennifer was not having that. Until the other team, aka Elise, sees that the girlies are doing something and she doesn't want to be upstaged. So her and the other girl in her team end up also partnering off. And so I'm thinking that this is just going to be like a little cute little makeout. Jennifer and Chantel, I want to say Jennifer mainly, went there. Okay, again, I'm like, TLC is really theming it up on a Monday night because Jennifer goes and she straddles Chantel and is making out like no one is watching, okay? And Chantel is into it, okay? Chantel was already going through like an identity crisis after kissing her best friend, but she looked right at home kissing Jennifer, okay? She was like caressing her back. At one point, Jennifer was like licking her neck. I was just looking around like, are y'all interrupting? Elise and the other girl were like all over the floor, but it wasn't as hot. And what I mean by that is that they were being more playful. Like you can tell that they were just like, ha ha ha, like let's win this. But Chantel and Jennifer, it was giving the real deal. They looked flustered after. But you know who was most excited? Usman. Usman was just watching like it was the Discovery Channel. At one point, he was holding his crotch like, and I was like, ooh, that's a little creepy. Then again, y'all are just fully doing the do in the middle of the beach. It was a lot. Even the instructor was like, oh my God. So basically they're like, okay, well, even after that tiebreaker, everyone's tied. So the girls each got a champagne bottle. That was their prize. Except they had a caveat. They had to select someone that they wanted to go on a date with to share the champagne. Jennifer immediately chooses Cole. And Rob is like, he's hurt because he's like, you would think that she would pick me after the night that we had, or because we're in the same team. But she's like, no, I pissed Cole off. Let me soften that up. And then Chantel turns to Jennifer and she's like, hey, I enjoyed our makeout, but would you be upset if I select Rob? Because that's who I'm selecting. And she's like, oh no. Because what she's going to do? Get mad in front of Cole? And Rob is just smiling through it. I don't think he likes Chantel, but... And then Elise selects Mustache Guy. And Tiffany's face... Tiffany was like, how dare she? And Tim was hurt because he was like, I thought we had something. So yeah, it's safe to say that a lot of people are disappointed after that activity. And then the final scene that we see is of Jen and Cole, sharing their champagne. And he's like, so how do you feel about what you had to do to get this champagne? And she's like, I loved it. And he's like, okay. I'm just glad that you didn't have to make out with Rob. But you could tell that he's pissed that she kissed anyone at all. And it's just so interesting to me. I feel like Cole is showing signs of like obsessiveness that is not attractive to me, because here he is finally one-on-one with Jennifer and all he can ask about is Rob. He's like, what did Rob say when you picked me? And she's like, what is he gonna say? Like, I'm getting to know people. I'm allowed to do that. And he's like, yeah, I just, didn't picture myself in a love triangle. And she's like, well, it's not a love triangle because I haven't kissed anyone. And she's like giving him the eyes. And first of all, girl, you did more than kiss Rob. That's a lie. You didn't have to lie, especially when it's on tape, especially when Cole is eventually gonna see it. So why do that to yourself, right? You don't owe him anything. Why? And I think the purpose of that was to get him to physically, make a move, because they still have not kissed. And Cole is like, would that make a difference for you? And she's like, well, I just want to get closer to you. So that makes me think that Cole is purposely withholding anything physical. Like maybe he's more on the conservative side, or maybe he just doesn't want to do that on camera, which is totally understandable, but it is very rare for dating shows. And Jennifer is used to getting what she wants. So she's like, you say you want me and I want you. Why aren't you all over me? Like, why aren't you kissing me? And he doesn't make any physical attempts to like do that in that moment either. But ultimately she's like, I just really like you. I'm all about you. And he's like, yeah, you say that, but I really hated seeing you work together and be in the same team. And she's like, well, at least you didn't have to see us kiss. And he's like, yeah, I hope I never see that. And she's like, and then they do the playback of her heated humping session that she had with Rob. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna bite her in the behind. Like, just own it. You're not together. You're in a dating show. You're allowed to explore your options. And he also gets to decide if he wants to be in competition for you. You know what I mean? Like, give people the right to choose. It's gonna be messy. And that's it for the recap, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. What was your favorite moment? I think that as the show is moving along, it's getting much better. I, of course, wish that we saw more of the singles, but overall, I'm really enjoying it. So do let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.